Okay, well, hi everyone, and thank you very much for watching or listening anywhere around the world. Liam Hartree back with you today again with another episode of the Simply Inspired podcast, and I'm really honored and blessed to bring you a very, very special guest today, super inspirational figure. Today, I'm bringing you Anton Noble, who is doing some absolutely incredible work in changing the lives of young people in terms of gang culture. So, this man is an ex-gang member, escaped from that life just barely with his life and is now showing young people how to follow a different path in many different ways, some of which include obviously being an urban specialist, consultant in gang culture, transformational speaker, advisor, serious youth violence, motivational and transformational speaker to be more specific on that bit, mediator, expert witness, gang exit strategist, and of course, seven-time award winner. I mean, wow, there's probably more than that, but those are a few of the LinkedIn right here. So today, obviously, we'll be finding out a lot about Anton's own life and his own journey, and we'll be tackling a few of the sort of bigger picture topics, I guess you can say, about gang culture and what people can do to make a difference in your own communities as well. How you can get involved with the work Anton does, and obviously, not to state the obvious here, guys, but if you or anyone else listening to this is struggling by being pulled into that life, maybe you're already in that life, you can't see a way out of it, because as well as that, Anton does a lot of work with people who've suffered serious trauma as well. So, a lot of times people going through these things, maybe if you're listening to this, you think you're the only one, but you're not the first person to go through it. You won't be the last person to go through it. And hopefully today you'll learn some lessons about how to change because it's never too late to change. So I want to put that out there a little bit as well, Anton, because when people are listening to things like this as well, the beauty about what we're doing here, somebody could be in a gang and they can be listening to this sort of secretly, if you like, or in their own way and taking some tips from it. And hopefully, we can reach people in those different ways. But anyway, thank you for coming on the show and thank you for making time for this today. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
That's no worries at all, man. It's my pleasure. I've been looking forward to this, and hopefully that introduction does that justice. But we'll talk about everything now in a moment. Now, I don't always start at the beginning with my guests necessarily, but I think with yourself, obviously, now you're doing amazing work. Your life wasn't always like this. You've had the highs, you've had the lows, and everything in between. I want to go back in time to the beginning. Now, some people would say maybe the beginning is when you start to get pulled into that lifestyle. But I'm going to go back just very briefly before that to where you actually come from, where you were actually born, what your family was like, and we'll just start there real quick, and then we'll go from there, please, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, so I was born in Coventry, but I was raised mostly in Birmingham, and I've got two brothers, an older sibling and a smaller sibling, and I've got a little sister, and so we were a family. I come from a Christian family, Black Jamaican family, uh, and my parents were married, but obviously got divorced. So I came through that kind of structure where my mother and father were together. I feel like um, we were good, but when my parents got divorced, that's when things changed.
Yeah,
And yeah, I was a cool kid, calm. I went missing a lot uh, at them ages. I didn't really come home from school. Um, I was a person that needed a lot of attention at school, like the teachers and stuff had to like sit with me and that. But yeah, I wouldn't say I was a person that would cause trouble. I was just a person that probably had many needs that weren't met. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's a powerful place to start, actually, my friend, because you know what, I hope that kind of breaks down a few stereotypes or misconceptions. I mean, it's something that other people who get involved in that life they'll understand all too well. But for anyone who doesn't understand it, I hope that breaks down just a couple of little barriers there as well, because that's part of what we're doing today. So obviously, what people want to know, I mean, starting with this, the temptation to sort of join a gang. Obviously, it's probably not an overnight thing. Usually, from a lot of other guys I've spoken to like this, it kind of takes step by step. But I mean, being drawn into that, what I'd actually like to get into is like more what you were feeling. I mean, what the allure, what the sort of temptation. What you thought you'd get out of it, because if we go several steps ahead, obviously everybody who's been involved in that life. They never get what they want out of it, what they think they'll get out of it. But obviously, when you're first taking those first kind of baby steps, you think you're going to get whatever it is, belonging, security, friendship. I mean, whatever type of thing was drawing you in. So I want to go back to, obviously you can talk about like what happened, but in terms of actually what was going through your mind and to some extent your heart as well in those early times of being drawn into that, if you get what I mean with this one.
Yeah, them times I was lost. Um, I didn't really know myself. So when you ain't got a plan or a purpose for yourself, other people will make a purpose for you. And uh, that's what happened to me. I hang around with older people, my brother's age. All my friends now, and who I hang around with, were my brother's friends. And me and my brother are only 13 months apart, so me and him are close, quite close. Um, and my brother came out of his shower in secondary school, became very popular, but became a little bit of a bully. And I was a person that was a observer and very quiet, didn't really speak a lot. But if you troubled me, I would cause some issues. But um, I feel what went through my mind was that I needed to be someone to be respected, but my heart was always kind. So I was battling between, should I be a people pleaser or should I just be me? And it was very hard to be me because I didn't know where me started. And the foundation of me, when you don't really know the foundation where you're coming from and your roots and stuff, it's very hard to follow what you should be to what you're seeing. And that was the trouble. And I came a people pleaser to a point where I was just existing just to make people happy. And in that kind of era, being bad was a trend. And hanging out with the cool kids was a trend. And getting uh, a lot of people a little bit feared of you, or you're in the popular group was the in. And if you're not in it, you didn't really, no one really cared about you. So, and the more you did, the more people would praise you. And it was just self-praising. Because when you don't get when you feel like you're not accepted or get approval when you're at home and you're from your own family, you look for praises from everyone else. And it's like a self-glorifying thing, but it don't last. The the claps and stuff don't last. The same people that clap for you are the same people that put you down when you're down. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good insight into it, and that's what I try and do with this as well, is not just go through like, this happened and this happened and this happened type of thing, but actually get into like some of the motivations and some of the deeper stuff. 'Cause I don't think some people understand that. And I even think, going back to what I said earlier, some people who are in the process of being drawn into that, I mean, they might not know exactly why, especially when you're very young like that. You kind of have an idea about yourself, but you kind of don't. So I think that's a really good lesson. Walk us through a little bit, like as you were getting into the life a little bit deeper, what an average day was like, or what some of the things you were doing, because I'm trying to toggle here a little bit as well, like I mentioned earlier, with people who know, some people know all about this, but for people who've got certain misconceptions, I'm even going to say stereotypes as well, don't know about it, I also want to break that down. So yeah, a little bit about like what kind of things they were getting you to do, because especially these are all guys older than you as well, so they know better, but they're like getting you to do stuff for them. I think that's really important to mention.
I think so everyday life with me with them was chilling on the block, chilling at the shops. When it's cold, raining, whatever day it is, we're there and we're posting. So that's our turf. And we would go, the oldest would teach us, if you don't go get girls, sleep with loads of girls, you're not a man. If you run away from your friends, you can't be a part of us. If you let one of your friends get battered, or you snitch, or you you tattletale, or you go with the enemy, all that kind of stuff was drummed into us. So we were a group that we kept ourselves to ourselves, but we were also a group that if you troubled us, we would make trouble. And yeah, everyday thing, it could go one extreme to another. It could be where we're all chilling, smiling, and then we're all kicking off. And we were a type of group where we all came from the same school, but we all in Coventry and other areas, we used to go everywhere. And there's a lot of people that didn't like us in 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 the era that I'm from. And there's certain places due to I used to do music. So I used to do grime. And back in them days, you would diss people to make people seem that you're good. So we had a crew, and our crew became quite big and well known due to what we used to be involved with. And yeah, from there, the worse we got, the more isolated life became. So there are certain times where we couldn't go to certain areas no more. I did a performance at a club, and there was loads of people outside, like 50 of them with axes and stuff ready to cave us in. And the bouncers wanted to chuck us out to them because they didn't want the club to be mashed up. And to be fair, the saviors that came to the day was the police. If the police didn't come, we would have been demolished. But yeah, that was the normal day was you never knew what's coming. And we live day by day and make sure we're all together and we're enjoying the moments with each other. That's how we used to live.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a funny thing actually, man. I had a feeling this topic would come up. I had a feeling of like, what you were saying there about like, you never know what's going to come. You got to be watching your back. You're enjoying life, but at the same time, it's very unpredictable. And I know that sounds kind of obvious in a way, but I had a feeling, when I sat down, like, okay, it's hard to explain, but when you do a lot of these, as you know, you get a feeling certain things are going to come up, and you know what I mean, because you've spoken about this like thousands of times. But that thing about like watching your back and everything like that. I'm curious, going back to the mindset thing, how you would deal with it, basically. I mean, how you would, because this is something else that I think is really important. Is people don't really know that when they're getting in, and like you were saying just now, that there's some enjoyable times, but there's a lot of stressful times when when you don't know what's going to come next and all the rest of it. So, like, what was your mindset to that unpredictable, that uncertainty, never knowing what's around the corner, that type of thing, if you get what I mean with
I
this
feel
question.
I feel everyone expresses their anxiousness, nervousness, fear in different ways. I think some of my friends went through drugs, like my brother. They all went to drugs to calm them and chill them out. And I went to alcohol and girls. So I was more of a person. I wouldn't social drink. I'll drink to get drunk to not remember. And with girls, I would, because of how my mother was, she could control her emotions, where she could switch it off and on. That's what I learned. So I could do that very easily with women. So women used to think I was for them, but I weren't. And sometimes I used them to just get a roof over my head for that day and just to chill and get away from my friends, just have a little break. And but also sometimes girls set you up as well. And some girls set up us and we use girls to set up other people. So yeah, but my release was drinking and girls.
Yeah, man, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, also, I want to say at this point, by the way, I mean, it's like now, obviously, I know you can talk about that openly. I mean, I know how it goes when when you speak to the guys on the block anyway, it doesn't matter which city or whatever. At the time, obviously, they'll never say that. Obviously, say, no, I don't have the fear. But obviously, because you've come out the other side, you can talk about it. And I think, again, I think that's going to be really, really valuable for them as well, because it kind of shows well, this all has a short shelf life, doesn't it, as we're going to get to in a short period of time as well. So, yeah, I mean, really valuable topics here. Now, one of the things I want to touch on, because I've seen you speak about this elsewhere in other interviews and stuff, is basically, I think you've described it as the concept of grooming, in the sense that, like, these are older guys who are like, manipulating younger guys. And again, you see this same, as you know, I mean, even better than I do, but anyone, I mean, you go to any city in the UK, it's the same process, the older guys, the younger guys, like you were saying, hanging out with your brother's friends. I want to go a bit deeper into that process because when you've come out of it now and you look back on it, I'm guessing it seems, or the manipulation and stuff shows a lot more than it did at the time, if you get where I'm going with this, because obviously when I speak to a lot of guys who've been into this, I mean, it's a big thing where it's like they think these people are their friends, they think they have their best interest, they think this, they think that, but obviously, usually there's no honor amongst thieves, and as they say, and the backstabbing and the setups and all the stuff comes into it. So I'm not sure what happened with that with your story, but going back to it, the grooming sort of side of things as you've described it, can we go a bit deeper into like how that works, please, mate, as well?
Yeah, so um, grooming happens from your friendship circle, not from a stranger. And it's your friends that introduce you to worlds that sometimes you didn't know. And sometimes your friends' parents as well show you uh, things. And I think what my friends did to me, the older ones when my brother age, was the mentality. Even though they were older, their mentality was still young. But because they were very violent, I was attracted to the violence that they would bring and the reputation. And I thought if I get worse than them, I will get greater reputation. But what it was is sometimes people show you stuff, but it's not true. And sometimes when it comes to the crunch, they gave you all the talk that they did this, but when things actually happen, they're not involved and they don't want to be involved. So there was a stage where I used to look up to a lot of people around my friends, and I used to do everything they said, and I was very loyal to a point where I would question like, "Yo, what's going on here? You've taught me this, but you're doing this. Why aren't you sticking up for yourself? Why are you scared of this man? I ain't scared of this man." And I just saw that they were creating us that were my age. To be fair, I was the youngest. Yeah, I was the youngest, one of the youngest. So they were creating someone that was becoming fearless and more fearless than them to a point where I wasn't really bothered about anything. But the most thing I was fearing about is not living, and that's what I always used to have on my head. To I could be somewhere chilling with them, and someone just jumping out of the car with knives or gun and wanting to cause issues and take me out for because of my friend. So yeah, it's the grooming kind of thing is very powerful when you come from a place where you don't know what you're gonna do tomorrow and you don't know where your life's going. So those that are getting groomed that are in that situation, I feel for them because grooming comes as a comfort. It comes as love, but it ain't lust. And it comes as protection, but it ain't protection. It's exploitation. And yeah, and that's what happened to me. And I was battling with, as I said, pleasing and myself. And as you grow up, you start learning that the only one that you need to please is you, because the time that you have in this life is not guaranteed. And those who are gonna love you will love you, and those who are never meant to love you will never love you anyway. So yeah, but obviously you go through things to see stuff. So the things that I've been through have sharpened me to be like this, and I don't regret anything or anything that's happened previous in my life because I would never have got this kind of wisdom and knowledge that I have now to share with other people.
Absolutely. I mean, I love that, man. Yeah. I mean, people say about this, don't they? This stuff's like lessons and all that stuff. But I could tell, like in your case, it really is true. And like by the contrast, And I'm guessing like by the contrast of the life you have now, like where it's stable and you're doing good work and stuff. I mean, that's an amazing thing, which I'll come back to in a minute. Now, shortly, I'm going to come into some more of like getting out of the gang and the youth work and some, up to like the present day. But before we do, now, I don't know how much you can say about this on two counts, right? First count is out of respect for the fact that it's not easy to talk about these things. And I actually have a lot of respect. It takes a lot of courage to speak about personal things like this. I know you've been doing it for years and everything, but nonetheless, I do respect it a lot because you're speaking about like the hard times of your life. And obviously, the other side of it is I don't want you to say nothing that can get you into trouble. But when it comes to the actual like violent incidents and the more brutal stuff that happens, I'm hoping we can get one or two stories here because the audience are going to want a bit of that kind of juice of like this is what goes down. But at the same time, I'm giving it the context so you understand. I'm asking it for a respectful reason. I'm also hoping that anyone who's kind of in the early stages will listen to this and basically think, oh shit, okay, it gets that deep, does it? I didn't think that. I thought it was all just the girls and all all the cool stuff and the music and everything. So I'm just explaining so you understand there's a context why I'm asking what I'm asking. I'm not just asking for, for shock. But if there's like one or two stories of like, yeah, these more brutal incidents, could we hear about a couple of those, please, mate, as well?
Yeah, so I've, in gangs you've got well R1. I think many of them are the same, but in my section that I was from, you had people that were part of the drugs, that did the drugs, and then you had people that were the fighters, and then you had those that were the thieves, and then you had those that were with the gang but also wanted to achieve. So me, I was the one that was with them, but knew I could do more than what they're doing. And uh, because I knew how to fight, and I weren't really feared. One of the ones where what's already been done, so I could say this, is that we got into an issue with people from rugby, and there were 30-year-old men, but I at that time was only 16, 17. And uh I went uptown, and back in them days I used to carry a knife, and I used to get into clubs, but not supposed to be clubs, and give the bouncer my knife, go party, and after coming back down, the bouncer will give me back my knife and I'll go out again. And that used to be an everyday thing. And uh these rugby lot must have troubled one of my friends. And because there was a lot of us and there was a lot of them, it all came outside the club. We started fighting, and yeah, it's a lot of people got cut, and uh, one of the person that was quite big on the other side, a man, he he was beating up my friend quite bad, and because me and my brother knew how to fight, but my brother weren't there at this time, thank God, because it probably would have been worse. But uh, yeah, I'm a person where I don't care if you do stuff to me, but if you trouble someone that I love, I get angry. And yeah, it came to a situation where it came like a one-on-one kind of scenario, and yeah, I absolutely destroyed him to the point where his nose was mashed up, his jaw was foul, um, his eye socket was bust, and you would think that I would have stopped hitting him when he was on the floor, but no, we kicked his head like a football to a point where the only time I stopped is when his eye socket was a little bit falling, coming off his skull. Like it's because it was fractured, his eyes were popping out. That's the only time I stopped because I thought, yeah, I don't really want to kill the guy. But what happened was he, I ran off and I went into a taxi, and one of my cousins got caught well, I call him my cousin, he's my friend. He got caught and they thought he was me. And then my other friend said, nah, it weren't him. It was him. And then I got caught through there. The guy was in a coma and he he didn't wake up. Well, he weren't gonna wake up. So we would get it done for attempted murder. Because at that time they thought that he wouldn't wake up out of a coma. But however, thank God, he woke up out of the coma. And yeah, so them times there was very early in 16 and that. So you could tell how if a 6-year-old was doing them kind of things then, imagine the things that I saw before that. And I thought that was normal. And but it ain't. None of these behaviors were normal. And to a point where it got that bad, I've had people try to took me out the top flats, out top flat. I've had saw put a gun at me when I was with a girl, chased me with a gun, trying to get me. I had axes. I used to carry an axe in my car where I threw it at people and it missed their head. And I had to go get one of them axes that stick in the tree. Yeah, it used to be that kind of thing. So it's crazy because if you speak to people that were around me and not around me but a little bit knew me, they never would have thought stuff like this. But until things got out, and I had someone that grew up with me in school, never knew nothing that I got involved in until stories came up. So yeah, it was that kind of life with me. And then yeah, so that's the ones that I've got dealt with by the police and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know how it goes, man. I know there's only so much you can say, but like I was saying earlier, on the one, I mean, on the one hand, obviously, it is interesting for people on the outside to hear about it, but more valuable than that. I mean, obviously, like I said, I'm hoping that it shows some of the very young, if they hear this, like 12, 13, well, I mean, 16 is still like crazy young, but you know what I mean? When they're first taking the baby steps and stuff, I hope it shows them. Now, obviously, coming to the point where you started coming out of the life, or at least coming to the point where you started having second thoughts about where this is all leading. Because again, I'm thinking it's probably not like an overnight thing or whatever. It's probably like, you started realizing, because going back to what you said earlier, like you realized you could do more than this as well. So, I mean, I don't know if that's a factor, but at what point did it start like losing the glamour and like the appeal and losing some of the, when you started to think, actually, I want to get out of this?
When it came an effort, it
Mm.
came an effort just to be that person. And I was tired. I was tired of hanging around on the streets. I was tired, boring. I was tired of going to clubs all the time. It was boring. I was tired of going with girls, sleeping with girls, and then next day feeling lonely. I was tired of it. I was tired of drinking and mashing up my clothes, wasting my money, and not knowing what went on the other day. And could have done something that I could have regretted. I would never knew I did it, and went to prison for something I didn't even know what I did. So I started reflecting on stuff, and then a lot of people were coming around me that were positive, that were from a different life, that just made me see different. And I thought my friends were falling off. Like some of my friends that I thought were bad started becoming addicts of drugs, getting mental health. I've got a friend that's homeless, that begs. That's he's addicted to heroin and crack now, and he begs. It's sad to see, but I see him sometimes in town. I've got friends that have been sectioned. Like my brother, he got sectioned due to mental health. Uh, I've had friends that have just lost every credibility of themselves, and I thought to myself, that's not going to be me. I'm not going to be that person. He was once this. Now look at him. No, I didn't want to be that figure. And there were so many stories I heard about. Oh, he was the man. My uncles used to say he was the man, but now look at him. And I thought to myself, that's not me. I that ain't my life. And if if me having 4 years of fame and people respecting me and then have 50 years of looking like that, no, no. I just evaluated and I thought, nah, I'm way more than this. But honestly, at the same time, I came smarter. I came smarter and I knew life weren't gonna help me. I had to help myself. And the criminal aspects I came smarter in as well. I came more undercover with it. And yeah, so certain things I wouldn't tell my friends what I was doing either. I didn't really trust it like that because even though we were cool, and we're good, sometimes when you do things that they never thought you would do, jealousy starts. And I saw it early. So there's some things I want to protect my friends from for not knowing. So if I did get caught, they wouldn't get caught for it because they never knew nothing about it and they're telling the truth. So yeah, I think that's when I started to think that I'm my own person and I don't need to think like you. And I love you the same, and I don't have to be the same as you to be loved. And if you're not gonna chill with me if I want to better myself, then you'll never for me anyway. So yeah, but sometimes I actually know some friends come enemies, and sometimes friends are around you because they you had a need for them to be around you then. But when the need goes, they feel like you've abandoned them or there's no chemistry no more. Because I couldn't speak to them about, oh, look at that, look what we did last week because I weren't doing it no more. And they were doing it, but it weren't fascinating to me no more. I used to think, that's immature, man. You need to grow up. And sometimes when you having conflict with your friends or you're trying to correct your friends, it comes bad. So there's some friends I don't chat to anymore. And there's some friends I chat to, but I keep them at a distance. And there's I ain't gonna lie to you, I still got close friends that still do stuff. They're still involved in doing stuff. But me personally, they know me, they know where I'm set, and they know I ain't doing anything like that. And but as a person, I love them. And if I can help other people to change, eventually they will see to change. So yeah.
Absolutely, man. I love it. I mean, there's some great lessons in there, like what you're saying. People will never for you anyway, and some of those things you said there. There's some really good lessons in there, man. But yeah, outgrowing, like when you're growing, and sometimes people don't grow with you. I mean, it can be hard. But I love what you're saying there as well, or about like there's some people even when they're still in that life, but you still love them, and they know where you're at, you know where they're at. I love that. I mean, I love that because in the world today, there's so many situations where people don't agree on something, people don't agree on some, I don't know, some political thing, or they're from different background or whatever, and they clash. And it's like, no, I mean, you can still be connected with people like that, but you can keep your own peace. I mean, I love some of the lessons in there. One of the things to touch on here, though, I mean, you could have come out of the life and just gone into like, um, who says what's normal, man? I don't know what normal is, but you could have not like been teaching. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because obviously it's one thing to escape it, and there's another thing to think, okay, actually, I want to pass this on. I want to help people and so on. And I'm looking at like stuff you're doing and the awards you've got, and like speaking at the schools and all different things. And often, like when I check LinkedIn and that, I mean, I've seen posts of yours of like different places you've been speaking. I'm thinking, man, that's a lot of lives. That's a lot of people hearing the message. So going back to the beginning of that time when you started thinking, okay, this is not just for me. I'm going to put this out there for other people. This message of like what you've been through and everything. Where did the inspiration for that start to like get out there speaking and all that kind of stuff?
Um, there was a person. Well, I thought I used to be into sports, and I used to work at a sports center, and then I used to be in the gym, and there was a lot of kids that were quite jack the lads, and they always used to be around me, and I used to always like train them or do sports with them and stuff, and I thought, oh yeah, this is a bit me, and like helping them, like directing them, and I was around people that were directing me at times and kept me right. And there's one friend that I've got very close. He's my kid's godfather, but he's the one that made me see things different. That you can still be cool and not be bad like that, and you could be bad. where you don't have to show people that you're bad. People just know you're bad, and if you and you can live a normal life and and you still get the same respect. And I started seeing that around um people, and then I thought, yeah. And then there's a guy called Sheldon Thomas. He's an ex gang member. He's from Manchester, and I went to one of his seminars in London. It cost a lot of money to go there, but I went there because I wanted to hear, because it was very rare to hear anything like that. And so I went there to hear him, and he was speaking some kind of deeper things, and I thought to myself, yeah, I feel I could do this. And I listened to him, and there's certain stuff, obviously it was generation, because I think he was about 50 then, and I must have been like 20, 22. And obviously his days was them days, but them days didn't weren't happening in our days now. But that didn't mean that he didn't have no wisdom and words to give my generation. And he was talking, facts, and I thought, yeah, we don't hear this, and I feel the young ones need to hear this earlier. Why have I gone through all this to hear this when I could have heard it ages ago? And then, yeah, I had the courage. As I said, I didn't really used to be a speaker. I used to be an observer, but my speaking came my gift. And it weren't that I weren't a speaker. I just didn't have the confidence. And my weakness is now my strength. And yeah, I worked off I've I thought there's a lot of people out there that need to hear. And the same way people say words to groom you into doing stuff, it's the same way you can groom someone out of it. The same method. There's no different methods. And I always say to people, if you change the words that you say, you can change your life. If you speak words that you're in a gang, you will go into a gang. And if you speak words of being an achiever and not being involved in gangs, you won't your mind won't attract yourself to that because you're not speaking it. So yeah, I became that person, and I've grew ever since. And yeah, I've had trials that it ain't been easy coming through like this, because obviously I've got a criminal record, and it was hard for me to get into schools first. I started my thing in Northamptonshire first to see if it works, and it was hard. It was very hard, and um, yeah, I had a few knockbacks, but I kept going because I knew I had a purpose, and it was more like survival. I didn't know nothing different, nothing else, and I put everything to it. And yeah, I came, and I kept pushing through doors. So yeah.
Yeah, and look where you're at today, man. I mean, like I said at the beginning, a light in the darkness. That's the way I see it. It's like, like how moths come to the flame. It's kind of like that when we're out there speaking. And I mean, you're having an effect that this other guy like Sheldon, you like what he had on you, you're having now on other people. I mean, I think it's awesome. And yeah, what you say when you talk to yourself, I mean, not just you, but anyone listening to this, it's so important, man. I mean, oftentimes it's more important than what other people say, even when they talk to you. So I mean, it's absolutely. So a couple of other things with this now. I mean, we might go slightly past an hour, but I do want to kind of keep it fairly tight. Is what are some of your proudest moments now of like the impact you're having? Because I know it is a big question, and you speak all over the place, and you've been on a TV, and you've won awards, and you've done like most amazing. I don't know. I've seen so many things, but out of those, is it possible for you to pick like two, three, four where you've really stepped back and you've really thought like, wow, this is more special than special, even though it's all good work, if you get what I mean.
Um,
Big question, sorry, but I
Man,
just,
you know what? The greatest achievement I've achieved is being a father.
yeah,
Out of all that, being a father and having little ones look to me and need me.
Yeah.
That that is the most what I've achieved out of all this. And I can mentor other people, but raising children is totally different because they see you bad and they see you good. When you mentor someone, they only see you good and you speak to them about your bad, but your kids see you bad and also see you good. So it's a different kind of level. And so I would say my kids, but number one, my greatest achievement is obviously I'm a big faith believer now, and my faith in God is the best achievement I have now, and that's um that's the greatest reward that I have, and everything that I have now, is due to Him, God. So yeah, man, it's I saw many things and many things that should have taught me, and I'm still here. So yeah, out of all everything, as I said, because I used to get praises a lot by when I was on doing what I was doing, and then at the same time, when I was down, I had people, the same one that used to clap me, destroy me. When I get praises now, it don't really last. I'm not really focused on that no more. And I think I went through that to humble me. And it's not about people's praises. It's about doing the right thing, even if no one wants to. And and sometimes standing alone, it's a it's a lonely road. But yeah, I believe that yeah, that's my greatest achievement is my faith and my kids and people I got around me now. That's my achievement.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up because, yeah, I mean, when I'm thinking about this and we're talking now, and I'm thinking, man, even just like what you're saying there, the stable life, kids. I mean, that's people you can trust around you, but like with your kids, I mean, that's unconditional love, man. I mean, that's the thing that most love in the world is obviously conditional. If you do this for me, I'll do that for you, and or the other way around or whatever, and all of this type of stuff and tit for tat. But it's like, well, obviously the kids. I mean, it's 100% pure, and that's a very special, as it is with God as well. And yeah, as a believer myself, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from. I had a feeling that might come up as well, and I'm glad it did. So beautiful, beautiful description. I'm just taking that in for a minute because I mean, because that's the thing. Because when you were back doing everything you were doing, that could easily never have happened. I mean, even not just with being killed and everything, but even with like the long sentences and things people get, like even if they have kids, obviously they're not in their life or they're in and out of the life, or the kids witness stuff, and then when they're old, they don't want nothing to do with them, and all of these type of things happen. So so for you to be where you are now, and it's not even a question. I'm just saying. I mean, you're blessed, and I'm happy for you for what it's worth. Because going all the way back to what you said earlier as well. I mean, always having a kind heart and everything, and going back to what you were saying just now about like you can be like you don't have to be bad to be respected and all that stuff. I mean, that's a really powerful lesson as well because I used to feel the same way. That the nice guy was finished last and all that type of stuff. But you can be a good person and still be strong and powerful and respected. But so that's also a really good, really really good lesson. So the last couple of things, because I did say at the beginning as well about a couple of bigger picture things, and I've got a question for you that's quite a sort of far-reaching thing. So I don't think we'll be able to talk about all of it, but just to get your opinion on a couple of things to do with the state of obviously knife crime and gang membership and the fact it goes up, and there's a lot of problems in all the cities now. Even I mean, I'm from Wales, and even there's a lot more problems with drugs now. And I'm in my 20s than there was even when I was a teenager. But at the same time, I still believe there's more awareness as well, and I think there's an increase in the awareness of like people like yourself and what you're doing because we could get the message out there of the internet. So it goes both ways. Why do you think this rates of knife crime are going up, and what are some steps that people can take in their communities to kind of tackle it? I know it's a very big question, but even if we get one or two bits of advice from you, I still think that's super valuable, man.
Um, Knife crime, it's been around for ages. It's always been there. It's just, I think my era, we didn't really boast about it how these kids do. It weren't really a fashion statement. And to be fair, girls used to carry knives more than us back in the days, but
Yeah.
people weren't aware of it, but they did. And because they didn't want their bags to be robbed or be robbed. But the first thing is to tackle the myths, and the myths are not everyone carries a knife,
Mm.
and people can pose with a knife, but that don't mean they're carrying it. The second myth is that if your son or daughter is carrying a knife, they either wanted to, there's something in their home where they do not feel secure, protected, respected, or they can't be transparent on how they feel. So they put their feelings into a knife. And a knife has no feelings. A knife cannot hurt someone if the person don't go and hurt someone. So it's not the knife that's bad. It's how the person's thinking at that time is bad. So a lot of emphasis was going on the knife, but it's the person. And I feel if any parents or young people or anyone that's involved in that kind of thing, what they need to think about is, do you really want to go that route? Do you really, have you got the ability, and do you even think you've got the authority to go and take someone else's life? And and three, can you really live with it? And is your conscience fully dead? And these are the three things that many people don't ask themselves. Just like if I ask someone that's involved in gang, tell me five things you like about yourself, they find it hard. But they can tell me five things bad that they don't like about themselves. It's all negative. And it's the same way when someone's carrying a knife. They never get asked the right questions. They always get asked, why are you carrying it? That's not the question to ask them. It's the questions to ask them is, do you think that's going to answer what you're looking for? And that's when it makes them think. It's taking the power away from the knife and put it straight back to them again. Because that's what they're doing. They're putting everything they feel onto a weapon that has no feelings. And it only has what you want to do with it. But when you make them accountable, that's when it changes. Because accountability is going in this world. No one wants to be accountable to no one. It's everyone else's fault. He made me feel like this. He made me do this. No, there's a part that you had in it as well, whether you're innocent or not. There's a part that you had in it. And yeah, that's the message that I'll give people that are feeling that they're carrying a knife, or they're carrying a knife, or they want to carry a knife, or parents that see that their son is coming that way, and they are the quick ones, I would say, to do and confront with, and start asking kids why. So we don't know why stuff like us happens in our life. We ain't got an answer for it, but what we have got an answer for is what we already know. And the only way to get that out of a young person is gateway questions, open questions that makes their conscience trigger.
Yeah. I love it, man. I knew that would be a good answer, but that's a really, really, really good answer because, I mean, better than I expected. Like, even though it's good, because, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you take the cliche aspects of knife crime, obviously, it's become a bit like that. What you're saying there about the inner work, I mean, the way they're feeling and the way, and I'm going to just tell you something real quick with this, is it's going to sound really weird in the context, right? But as well as being a man of faith and like I believe in God, I also meditate every day as well as praying, right? Because I have to focus my mind. And the more you increase your self awareness, I know you know what I'm talking about because you were saying earlier about being a people pleaser and focusing outwards, and then becoming your authentic self. And that's basically focusing inwards in a lot of ways. And yeah, I would say the answers, they do lie within, because all of the time, including what you were saying earlier about like in the end, the gang life becoming empty and everything like that. And I would say it's because you're constantly trying to get, the validation and the respect and the self love and all of these things that people don't have, and get them from the outside and bringing them inwards. Whereas obviously what you're doing now, like you've got it within yourself and then you're putting it outwards, and then obviously it multiplies, a thousandfold and everything. And I think that is powerful, because people are looking at the kids and they're looking at the actions. And I saw the one recently about I think they were like 12 or 13, and they stabbed a 19-year-old, and it was like the young. And I was thinking, what must they be feeling? And flipping that, excuse me, flipping that on its head in like America. I remember when years ago now, 1999, I mean, the Columbine shooting happened, and they said to somebody on the TV, they said, "What would you say to those kids?" And he said, because obviously they killed themselves in that case before they could be captured. And he said, "Well, I wouldn't say anything to them. I'd listen to what they had to say." And that's what nobody did. And I thought, like, wow, I mean, that's such a simple, just like that, like a statement. But I thought, actually, that sums it up, because, they're not able to express themselves. And the only other thing I want to tell you, it's not a question, but I can't remember if we got into this, but at the moment, even though I'm from Wales, I'm working in Cyprus, right? So I'm doing this call from Cyprus. I can't remember if I'm even
Oh,
going.
no, no.
But
Right.
that's part of why I had the face thing, because of
Oh,
totally worth it moving, but it's stressful to immigrate and do stuff for. But anyway, that's another story. I'll get into that. But I'll tell you something really weird, right? Out here, right? I'm coming from Wales. They sell. You're not going to believe this. Things in shops like knuckle dusters and switchblades and stuff. Like you can walk into what would be a Premier store type of thing for us, like a convenient, like a co-op or whatever, yeah. And if you want to, you can buy, because they do a lot of hunting out here. They do a lot of like with the animals, but there's no knife crime. There's nothing, right? I mean, it's like if something happens. Recently, they had a thing where somebody had their phone stolen, like pickpocketed, right, and stuff like that, and that caused such a excuse me, such a problem. There were like marches in the street about like all these illegal immigrants, they're stealing, they're pickpocketing people. And so I was looking at it thinking, because I haven't been out here that long, looking at it thinking, what is it? But they can sell something like that here, but there's no crime. But in the UK, somebody will take like a kitchen knife or anything, you can get your hands on a pair of scissors and take it open. I mean, you were saying about the girls earlier. I mean, they used to carry the like the hairbrush, you take it off and it's
yeah.
off and all of this stuff. And I'm thinking like, okay, why can they have that here? And it's like you don't have to be watching your back anywhere. And then in the UK, like people will use anything, like where they banned a lot of fireworks because there was something a few years ago where somebody shot a firework at somebody, and it's like if they're going to use something, you could ban all of the knives and they'll use a screwdriver, or you could ban all the screwdrivers, they'll use a chisel. I mean, I know a few people who got, on the street, they got done with like screwdrivers and that, and then they survived it. But and it's like that shows that it's in the person, right? And I was looking at the culture here, and I was looking at like how tight knit the families are still. That's a big one. I was looking at the fact they still have the church here as a big part of the society as well. I think that's a big one. Whereas obviously in the UK that's gone. You know, the celebrities are a bit different. So if you have like a Greek, some famous singer, or I mean, I can't even say the name, but I look at it and I think, wow, they're like famous here. They don't have the same thing like you were saying about grime and stuff, where they're not really putting across the same message. They're putting across the. So I'm not saying it's perfect, because it's not like a perfect place, but I was looking at that and I was thinking, okay, that shows it's in the people. It's not in the weapon. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because they have the same debate in America with the gun crime, and they're saying, look, it's not the guns, it's how the people are feeling. And you look at the US and think, yeah, okay, a lot of places in the US, help, something goes down, help can be hours away. I mean, it's like it's crazy. So okay, yeah, maybe they do need it, but then it's how people use it. So I'm really glad we've kind of closed out with that, even though I've gone off on a tangent here. I didn't going, because yeah, to the youth. the inner work is amazing. Now I got to get off my thing because I've gone off on a ramble here. How can people contact you, Anton? I mean, I know you're not a hard man to find, and you're out there on social media, you're out there everywhere. But if people want to get more directly involved, just so I don't forget about this, how can they reach out to you and join the movement, basically?
We've got a website that we've literally just launched a new one, a new website. You can find us on www.guardianyoungminds.org. We've just opened a shop as well, so if you want to buy some merchandise, you can. But yeah, it's got literally all the information on there, and we're on Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you at Gym Intervention, you can see us on all them platforms. And if you want any educational kind of stuff, YouTube's got all our short videos that we've done to education. And obviously Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat, it's got all of our what we're doing in the communities and what events we've got on coming soon in Christmas.
Awesome, absolutely awesome. Yeah, and I will say to that, guys, anybody who's not like involved or you're not connected to Anton on there, get in there and connect, get involved, even on the social media, because you'll see the message out there going out there all the time. You can see the stuff like you saying merchandise, the upcoming talks. It does a lot of talks, a lot of absolutely cool stuff. So yeah, please do get involved. I'm going to say that, and and so I don't forget to say, because I actually forgot to say it at the beginning. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired channel as well, guys. And there's a lot more content like this. I'm literally just trying to show people that there's a different way of doing things. I'm not saying it has to be this way or that way. I'm just trying to show people, look, take a moment, take the blinkers off, and just look around, because there might be more than the one lane that you're focused on. Excuse me, getting over COVID as well, man. I've had a rough time. But listen, anyway, so that's what I want to say to people, is just to think twice. And I know that today, my friend, we've kind of only scratched the surface in a lot of ways of your life, and also of your message and the depth of your message. But I will say, I had that in mind to do, like, some interesting stories from your life, and then a little bit about the big picture, and then we've ticked those boxes and then some. So I just hope that it does what I just said, and it just gets people thinking, maybe there's another way of doing things than what I'm doing today. I will also say, anybody, like I said at the beginning, involved in the gang life, and you're struggling to get out of there as well, and you've listened to this, reach out to Anton directly, because obviously it's one of those things you can do, guys, as well, where even if you're still feeling trapped in there, it's something you can still reach out without other people you're involved with really knowing about it, and you can still get some advice from him as well. So I am gonna put that out there, because I know you're very sort of very accessible, more than average, in the sense people can reach out. So I think that's everything there. Been an absolute pleasure, my man. Thank you very, very much for speaking from your heart, because
Oh, man.
you've been doing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.